Today, we're going to break down the really fascinating and complex idea of Vicdan, or what most of us would call our conscience, all based on a pretty insightful lecture by Mustafa İslamoğlu.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. Think about it. We use indicators for pretty much everything in life, right? We've got gauges for our blood sugar, thermometers for our temperature, you check the weather. They all tell us if things are high, low, or just right. But what about our morality? What's the internal gauge that tells us if an action is right or wrong?
Well, the source gives us a name for this internal moral gauge: Vicdan. It's our conscience. It's that gut feeling, that innate intuition that we all have, the faculty that kind of gives us a reading on whether what we're doing is actually good and just.
But here's the thing, it's not quite that simple. This idea of Vicdan isn't just one thing. The source argues that to really get it, you have to look at how the Quran describes its different jobs, giving it several names that show just how multifaceted it really is.
So first up, you've got the munity, which means the caller. You can think of this as the alarm system deep inside you. It's that inner voice that starts shouting when something just doesn't feel right. Then it also acts as the psyches, or the driver. I love this one. It's like the chauffeur for your soul, right? It's the internal force that's steering you, directing your actions, and either pushing you towards something or pulling you away. And it doesn't stop there. It also serves as the shahid, the witness. This is your own constant internal observer. It's a witness to everything, what you do, what you think, what you feel, especially when you think no one else is watching. It's the part of you that you can't lie to. And finally, it's the hasib, which is the accountant. This is the piece of your conscience that's always keeping a tally, you know? It's like an internal ledger that holds you accountable for what you've done and really pushes you to reflect on your choices. So let's be super clear. These aren't four separate things floating around in your head. The caller, the driver, the witness, the accountant, they're just different jobs, different functions, performed by our one, incredibly complex and super powerful inner conscience. Now, you might be thinking this is all just deep philosophy, right? Well, the source suggests it's actually way more than that. It's something that's literally hardwired into our biology. I mean, get this. The neurobiological foundation for our conscience, the cortex, is ancient. It started developing a mind-boggling 200 million years ago in the very first mammals. So this isn't some new feature. It's been in R&D for a very, very long time. And how does this ancient system work? Well, a big part of it is a complex cocktail of hormones. These are the actual chemicals that create feelings of empathy, connection, and reward, really the building blocks of our moral and social lives. Let's break that down real quick. You've got dopamine. That's the reward hormone. It's what pushes you to do things that feel good. Then there's oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which is absolutely crucial for creating empathy. And you have serotonin, which kind of acts like the brakes, helping you learn from your mistakes. So, what happens when this incredibly fine-tuned internal indicator gets ignored, or even worse, when it gets corrupted? This is where we get to the source's most challenging and maybe most provocative argument. The speaker asks this really critical, almost unsettling question. Is it possible for someone to be super religious on the outside, following all the rules, doing all the rituals, but on the inside, be totally lacking a moral compass? And to illustrate this, the source gives this just jaw-dropping example. A person who was obsessed with making sure the ingredients in a cookie were religiously pure, making a huge show of their piety. And that same person, they were later found to have stolen millions of dollars. And there's a name for this. The source calls it vicdansiz dindarlik, basically a piety that has no conscience. It's a kind of religious performance that's totally hollow. The focus is all on the outside, on the rules and appearances, and it's completely disconnected from any real internal core of empathy or justice. So, according to the lecture, what you end up with are two completely opposite ways of approaching faith. On one side, you have a theology of arrogance. This is when religion is used to judge other people and make you feel superior. And on the other side, you have a theology of responsibility, where your faith actually makes you more humble, more empathetic, and leads to real kindness. And this all brings us to the final and most important takeaway. The source really leaves us with a question we have to ask ourselves. Which path is your own belief system, whether it's religious or not, pushing you down? Does it build a sense of responsibility and empathy, or is it building a wall of arrogance? And at the end of the day, that's a question that only your inner conscience can truly answer.